In this tragic story, it seems one man dedicated his life to keep the two young lovers from getting married. He stopped the wedding, but 50 years later, something unexpected happened. Sometimes all it takes is one person to stand between two people who were destined to be together. This is the shocking love story of Janice Rude and Wilson Prentiss. They met at college in LA in 1962. After a couple months, the two young lovebirds decided to get married. They knew they wanted a wedding with all their family and friends. Janice and Wilson met in the cafeteria where they were working. Soon they started to spend all their time together and fell in love. It was utter bliss, and they couldn't believe how they found each other. Fraternity boy Wilson Prentiss was part of Kappa Sigma. Wilson was clearly a smart guy, studying law and with goals of truly making something of himself. Not only was Wilson Prentiss smart, but he was good-looking and definitely had his priorities straight. Any woman would have felt lucky to have spent time with this smart guy, yet he only had eyes for one. Wilson Prentiss definitely had his priorities straight. When the national fraternity refused to let black student Gene Grigsby pledge to the Oxy Chamber, Prentiss voiced his opinion on the matter. He supported the chapter's decision to quit the national fraternity and became president of the chapter. He was a man of principle, which made him even more attractive to those around him. As Wilson said in 2013, "I believe we were simply meant to be. I even remember the first time I laid eyes on Janice." Little did they know that their fateful meeting would take them on a 50-year journey with some serious ups and downs. Wilson started going to the campus canteen every day at 6 a.m. in order to get his breakfast. Janice, if she had thought about it, may have started to wonder why she was seeing more and more of this handsome man. Like clockwork, Prentiss would make his way down to the canteen to get his breakfast. And that time of the morning, we doubt it was full of people either. It was a perfect excuse, and Janice was none the wiser. I actually didn't think I had a chance with her. She was a year ahead of me and just so beautiful. That's what Wilson Prentiss said about Janice and their early morning exchanges. Little did he know that Janice was starting to fall for him too. The pair continued seeing each other every single morning at 6 a.m. on the dot, never knowing how the other person felt about them. Things were soon about to change, however, when they decided to get married. When Janice told her dad about her plans to marry Wilson, he insisted that she end the relationship and cancel the wedding plans. Janice already had her heart set on the most beautiful wedding dress, but unfortunately Janice felt helpless and that she had no choice but to listen to her dad. Although she didn't agree with him, she felt that he knew best. Many years later, Janice explained to ARP magazine the possible reasons her father was against their relationship. Unfortunately for Janice, her father did not approve. Janice's father was a street-ready guy who didn't feel like intellect was important in life. He threatened to cut all financial ties with Janice if she proceeded with the wedding. This would mean that Janice wouldn't have been able to finish her degree in biology. The pair were heartbroken that her father would seemingly be so cruel. They were in love. Why couldn't he see that? Janice was forced to choose between her relationship with Wilson and her college education. There was no option to balance between these two loves, so she had to make a choice. Her mom supported her in a relationship with Wilson, but her father was determined to do anything to keep them apart. He didn't believe a degree was important and threatened that if Janice didn't give up Wilson, she'd have to give up college. Wilson was a great student and very active in a wide range of college activities. In fact, he was quite a catch. That's why Janice was even more confused by her father's attitude. What was wrong about Wilson? That was a mystery to her. She considered eloping or secret destination wedding, but she didn't feel comfortable lying to her father. Instead of planning a honeymoon, she had to consider canceling their dream wedding. Love at first sight is how Wilson described their relationship in an interview he gave to Huffington Post. He said, "I believe we were simply meant to be. I even remember the first time I laid eyes on Janice." He was so excited to make Janice a bride and his wife, and even knew what wedding cake he wanted. It was such a pity her father was so stubborn. In order to surprise him, Janice drove 150 miles just to meet Wilson's parents and spend the weekend with them. What she did was very brave since she showed up unexpectedly. Wilson was thrilled to introduce the love of his life to his parents. After the incredible weekend together, they announced their engagement. In June, the local papers wrote about this young couple's love story. But Janice's father was displeased by the whole thing and gave her an ultimatum. He warned Janice that he would stop supporting her college studies financially if she chose to marry Wilson. Janice was torn. She knew that without financial support from her father, she would not be able to finish her studies, which she'd always dreamed of achieving. On the other hand, Wilson was the love of her life. What was she to do? Disobey her father or leave behind the love of her life? This was not an easy decision. His mother, on the other hand, had realized their relationship was one of a kind. That's why she did her best to help Janice. This loving mother pulled out a second mortgage just to help her daughter finish her college degree. Her mother's support was not enough. Janice's father still forced her to break off the relationship and cancel the wedding. Her father never told Janice the real reason for his behavior and negative attitude. In her own words, she said that Wilson was a street boy and a bit rough for her father's tastes. Perhaps that's why he told the groom and bride to cancel the wedding. Janice and Wilson tried to figure out the reason for her father's negative attitude, but they never managed to. They broke up and went on with their lives, but in different directions. What a sad ending to such a beautiful love story. Or so they thought. They went on with their lives. They became very successful and built amazing careers. Wilson became one of the best tax attorneys in San Francisco. Janice took over her family business in Nevada. Later on, her diving board manufacturing company became part of the USA Diving Association's Hall of Fame. On the other hand, both of them married and divorced as well. But they decided to change their lives drastically only after they experienced the death of their mothers. They had a lot in common, and this would soon prove to be the needle that thread them back together. Both of them went through a painful experience. But strangely enough, it was exactly that painful experience which brought them together again. As they went through their mother's stuff, they found the newspaper article from 1962, the one that announced their engagement all those years before. The couple met a few times, but it was simply not the right time for them. Finally, when they were both single again, Wilson asked Janice to brunch. It was as if no time had passed at all, and that spark was there in the beginning, had never really left. It was reignited once again and even stronger this time around. Both Wilson and Janice were nervous about the outcome of their story. It was now or never. In other words, time to either say goodbye, but this time forever, or time to finally give their love a chance. Never say never and never give up, because you just don't know what could happen in life and where your path may lead. Who would have thought that 35 years later they'd be back in each other's arms? After 35 years, Janice and Wilson were finally together, free to love each other and enjoy, thanks to their mothers. And all that time, they kept the article about their love and their wedding. They simply knew it. Wilson said, "The mothers got it. They simply knew it. And I think we also knew." Their first date was in San Francisco's Cliff House. She was wearing the same colored slacks she wore on Thanksgiving in 1961. Wilson immediately noticed that, and 6 months later, the couple was engaged and ready to finally get married after all those years. Wilson knew how many days they'd been separated. We lament every day that we miss being together. That's about 17,500 days. But who's counting? True love conquers all in the end. Getting to know each other once again was more than either of them could have imagined. They remembered who they'd fallen in love with as young kids, and those same people were still inside them. They used the newspaper cutting from 1962 on their wedding invitations. They invited all their family and friends to help them celebrate. This was a genius idea, and it warmed everyone's heart. True love stories really do exist. They got married on August 19th, 2012 in the Student Union at the Occidental College. This was the exact place where they first met, all those years before. They couldn't stop beaming from ear to ear. They almost had to pinch themselves to check that it was real, that they were actually together and getting married all these years later in front of family and friends. The inevitable part of the whole story were 6 songs that put them together and pictured their unique love story. It didn't matter about the past now. All that mattered was this moment in time. Janice and Wilson now live in Napa Valley and enjoy every minute of their time together. They said in an interview, "We feel like we're 18 again," and that they are blissfully in love. Fairy tales do exist, and so does true love. So let this story be hope that your Prince Charming or Princess is out there. And no matter time or distance, true love will prevail.